Hello and welcome back. It's July 2026 and there's yet another update for Lightroom Classic. Updates have been coming thick and fast lately and it's a bit hard to keep up with everything, but in this video we'll cover the important updates in this latest version, and depending on your workflow some will be useful and some will be maybe a little less so. So let's jump in and take a look. So just when you thought it was safe to go away and have a holiday, along comes Adobe and issues further updates to Lightroom and Photoshop. And in this video we're going to talk about the latest version of Lightroom Classic, version 15.4.1, with some updates released at the end of June, early July 2026. So what's new? Well, the first thing that's new is in the library module you'll see a new icon in the bottom toolbar, and it's called the duplicates panel. And what it will do, when you activate this button, it will search your entire library for duplicate images, and once you launch that it will go away and work in the background, and it may take a considerable time, especially if you have a very large image library, but it will find duplicates of the same image, which can be quite handy. But also you need to be a little bit aware if you've got copies of various files in different folders that are also part of your Lightroom catalog. You need to be careful about what you're going to delete, but that's a very handy tool, and if you activate it, which I will do now, it will commence. And if you look up here under your name tag at the top, you'll see here that duplicate detection, well, it's currently paused, and I have at the moment 113,000 images in this catalog, so it's going to take quite a long time to run through those. But what we can do is we can let that run in the background, and we'll leave that go, and you'll see the little icon there is telling me that something is happening in the background. And at the moment it's not going to find any duplicates because certainly in this collection there's no duplicates. But once you have found duplicates, you've got three options. You can just remove the duplicate from your catalog, which means it stays on your hard drive wherever it is located, or you can delete the duplicate from the disk. And it's important then to know which folder that you're going to be deleting the image from. And the third option is you can go to Windows Explorer or the Finder to locate the image before you decide whether you're going to delete it or not. And to make things easier when you're using that Duplicates Finder, there's a new option available in the View panel or the Grid View panel to allow you to show the source folder for each of the images in your collection or in your area that you're looking on your computer. And to turn that on, we go up to View, we go to View Options, and we look at the Library View Options, and we're talking about the expanded cells. And if we come down here to the expanded cells extras, we've got choices of lots of different things here, but we now have this new option for the file base name and also the folder and file extension, which I've turned on, so that on any of my photos, these are all actually taken from our recent trip to Iceland, but it's showing here the folder, it's showing the image file number and the file format, and of course all the other information, the star rankings, color labels, etc. So having the folder location included on the grid view when you're using that duplicate finder will be a useful tool to help you locate where those duplicates are found. So that first new feature in Lightroom is definitely a worthwhile thing. Just bear in mind, if you have a very large collection or very large catalog, it's going to take quite some time to sort through and find those duplicates. And just one thing to remember with your duplicate finder, by default it is going to search your entire catalog. You can't at this stage just select particular folders or areas within the catalog to search for duplicates. It's going to search the entire catalog, so just bear that in mind. Now the second feature that we have is a claimed improvement in selections, and if we go into our develop module, the select subject is supposed to be now a lot quicker and a lot more accurate, and I've got a fairly clear subject in this particular photograph and it's found it very easily, so I can't really be sure whether it's quicker or more accurate, but it certainly works well. and if there's an improvement here, then it's well worthwhile, because that just makes our life so much easier when it comes to then making adjustments and work on our images. So that's our second improvement: improved subject selection and with better edges, because the edges of selections in Lightroom has been a little bit of an issue, particularly around things like foliage and skies, and any improvement is worthwhile. Now, the next improvement or enhancement in Lightroom is claimed to be the performance of the denoising function. And as we know, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that the denoise in Lightroom has been pretty poor up until relatively recently, but it has improved remarkably well, and it is now pretty much as good as any of the models on the market. Now you can see this photograph was taken at 1800 ISO, and so you can see there's a bit of noise in the image. If I just click on the AI denoise, it will run in the background and do its job, and it's claimed to be improved performance. Now this particular machine I'm operating on is running out of hard drive space, so it is possibly going to be a little bit slower than normal, but it certainly does do a good job, and it's worked fairly quickly. Now that's complete. You can see now, if I click on the I button to turn it off and on, the denoising has worked quite effectively, and of course you will need to then apply appropriate sharpening to your image, and depending on your preferences, you've got plenty of options. Now the other thing is, with the denoising, you have a slider here that you can move from the default settings. You can increase the denoising, and if you do that, it's going to lose a little bit of detail. So generally what you want to do is you want to just do enough denoising to retain the detail in the image, and not too much. So if I turn that off, you can see there is a fair bit of grain and a little, well, the image is sharp, but then with the features turned on, it certainly works very well, and I think it does work a little quicker than it used to. So the next new feature, feature number 4, is a feature that we find in the library module, and that's related to the new tool called assisted culling. Now, I have to say I haven't used this because I don't want the software to decide what photographs should be kept or not kept. I might keep them for particular reasons, but you have options here in assisted culling. You can choose things like subject focus, eye focus, eyes open, exposure problems, misfires, and remove documents, and etc. And then you've got various other tools down here. I haven't used this, but it's claimed that this performance has been improved. So if you would like to give that a try, by all means, and let me know how it goes. But I certainly don't use that, but it may be a worthwhile tool for your purposes. Now the next new feature, number 5, relates to how we filter for information in our library. So if we go to our library filters and look at the metadata, as people would know, you can add or include additional columns, and you can choose whatever you want to search for. But if we add a new column and we select develop as part of the criteria, we now have the option to select or filter based on whether it has AI used in the processing, has generative AI used in the processing, or any that needs an AI update. So if I do that, then I can see that, yep, out of those images, it's not going to find any because there aren't any within this one. Yes, there are. Here we go. So it's decided that these particular images have AI involved in the processing. So that's another handy tool if you're looking for any images where the AI has been used in the processing and you want to select them. You now have this additional series of tools in the filter metadata section, and just bear in mind that there are a huge number of options within the filtering selection and criteria. So if you need to find anything at any time, there's generally a type of filter that will allow you to find what you want. So I'm going to just turn that back to none, and away we go. So that is another new feature that may or may not be useful for your particular situation. Now the next new feature is one that I also don't use, and that is the option of syncing keywords between Lightroom Classic and just the other version of Lightroom. I don't use keywords, so it's not really of any use to me, but if you're a keyword person, and I know there are people that love keywords and there are people that hate keywords, and never the twain shall meet, but if you are keen on using keywords and you use both the desktop version of Lightroom and the mobile version, you can now sync keywords between both versions. So hopefully that is going to be a useful feature for those of you that use that, but for me it's not really of any benefit. Now our seventh new feature is another claimed performance improvement, and that is when we're working in the develop module, when we're using the brush tool, and it's claimed that the brush, I'm going to delete that mask I made previously because we don't want to interfere with anything, but if we're using the brush tool, it's claimed that its performance is much improved. I'm going to use the auto mask. Now obviously I could make this selection using the subject selection, but this is just purely to demonstrate the performance of the brush, and certainly to me it seems to be a lot less laggy than it used to be, and again you can paint on fairly quickly, bearing in mind that sometimes you're going to run over the edges, but in this case I think certainly the brush performance has improved, and that's certainly a good thing. It will save a lot of time once you're trying to create these masks and selections, so that's another big plus. And the last of the new features is that Adobe have now included their own tools for running cameras tethered to the computer running Lightroom, and in this case it's only for Canon cameras at this stage, but I would expect that it will be built out for Nikon and Sony, etc. in due course, but previously you had to rely on the camera manufacturer's software to enable it to talk to Lightroom, but Adobe is working on developing that as part of a tool within Lightroom. So if you're a Canon user and you want to tether your camera to the computer, this will be of interest to you, but for everyone else it's probably not really that exciting. So this is a summary of the new features in the latest version of Lightroom. There are other features that have been brought out into Photoshop and Camera Raw, which I will cover in future videos. So I hope that's all been useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.